Greetings people who got their curiosity piqued by the clickbaity title. In this video, I'm trying to address the inflationary use of the words OP, broken, or to some degree cheesy regarding some weapon style combinations in Monster Hunter Double Cross and if they're really broken or not. Some weapons are stronger than others, no doubt about that. Some games do a better job at balancing, others not so much. The most important thing in Monster Hunter, or in any game for that matter, is to have fun and a good time. In a massive game like Monster Hunter, where you easily can exceed the 100-hour mark, efficiency might be a high priority for people who sink a lot of time into the game, grinding for gear, charms, or just helping out a friend who has trouble. Using a weapon that can dish out more DPS than others is a good idea to reduce time spent in a quest and enhances the probability of succeeding the quest, since shorter quests mean less risks of casualties and, in the worst scenario, failing the quest. So, what are the best DPS weapons in the newest installment of the Monster Hunter franchise, Monster Hunter Double Cross? Most of you probably know one of them, since quite a lot of speedrunners have taken a liking to this weapon. Brave Longsword. For those who don't know what makes this weapon and style combination so good, let me explain. Brave Longsword takes a while to actually charge. No, you don't have to charge the spirit gauge, but also the brave gauge, which can be done in a few seconds or can take up to a minute, depending on how many openings you take advantage of or how cooperative the monster is. Once your brave gauge is filled, the R attack transforms into a wonky looking slash. The thing is, it has guard point frames at the beginning of the R slash, being able to counter everything without knockback and the need of guard plus skills. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, the thing is, the guard point frame window is very slim. Half of the frames of the for you charge blade guard point to be exact. If you had trouble pulling off a guard point in 4 Ultimate, you may struggle even more with Brave Longsword. Also, screwing up means basically tanking the attack head on, resulting to quite some damage and even carting to hypers, deviants and especially super deviants. It's a high risk, high reward thing. The counter can be chained into a high DPS combo if every attack hits, which needs a somewhat big opening and good positioning to pull off. So, like for almost every other monster, knowledge of movement, opening and staggered thresholds is asked for, if you don't want to die after trying to pull off the full combo or the counter itself. Let's move to the other strongest weapon style combo in the game. Brave Heavy Bowgun. Brave Heavy Bowgun is the closest we got to Railgun in Monster Hunter Double Cross. Its shooting frequency is the fastest out of all ranged weapon style combos and the damage speaks for itself. Well, at least after you fill up your Brave gauge and go to Siege mode, knowing which ammo to use to fill up your Brave as soon as possible is essential, or else you fall behind in damage compared to, for example, Adept Heavy Bowgun. Did I mention that Brave Heavy Bowgun also gains evasion +2 upon filling the Brave gauge? Pretty strong. The third weapon, which is a contender for strongest weapon style combo, is Striker Lance. Striker Lance was already one, if not the strongest Blade Master choice if you wanted to deal massive damage in Generation. Striker Lance is basically the most basic out of them all. No wacky strategies, no need to fill up anything, just pop a Mega Dash juice and charge away. That's it. Now you may ask, why is that? Well, the charge finisher has a whopping motion value of 70, 67 in Double Cross, which can be rapidly spammed multiple times in a row, as long as you feel like it or as long as the monster decides to actually fight back. If 70 motion value doesn't ring a bell to you, let me lay it out for you in layman's terms. That's the damage the second hit of the Hammer Super Pound, the charged R attack, deals when it connects, without the need to charge or fill anything up. You can chain it as long as you want, in theory. it still requires monster knowledge, like being able to exploit openings without getting wrecked. Now that we know what the three, in quotations, DPS kings in Monster Hunter are, what is the general opinion of those three weapons? Well, it's really obvious and easy to say in most cases. Brave Longsword is considered broken, overpowered, straight up easy mode and borderline cheating, according to Reddit posts, YouTube comments and various other sources. Also, being named toddler style sarcastically. Why is that though? Well, Brave Longsword is being able to counter AoEs, attacks with bad hitboxes, heavy damage attacks and even chip damage without the need to retreat, while also dealing damage in the progress. Newer monsters tend to have movesets that can be easily countered with Adept or Brave style, like the Geocruise, which other styles struggle with since they have the need to reposition themselves every 2 seconds to not get blasted into oblivion. Having a style that is capable of overriding this is helpful. It is one of the fastest clear times, albeit heavily reliant on good reflexes and player skill. So, the complaints are barely justified since most of the comments come from people who haven't used it themselves or never had the chance to. Emphasis on most. They saw speedruns from a person who obviously knows how to use it and thought, hey, this looks easy, everyone can do that, therefore this weapon is a mess. The definition of broken is the following: a game object or facility that is too good to exist. It is so powerful that it is unbalancing and hence breaks the game. Every winning player has to use this to be competitive, which does not apply to any weapon in Double Cross or any Monster Hunter whatsoever. Monster Hunter has got balancing issues since forever. Monster Hunter Double Cross is no exception to this. But still, no weapon is a perfect matchup for everything. Raw reliant weapons like greatswords and hammers struggle with monsters like Chameleos and Bazarios, since they barely take any raw damage at all. Brave style weapons, where the Brave gauge depletes over time, or sometimes takes too long to build up in general, may have some issues with multi-quests, where the monster is close to dying or even already dead after your Brave gauge is filled up. The other styles are still great alternatives, albeit being slower in general than one specific weapon style combo. But since Monster Hunter is not a competitive game, it makes zero difference if you want to use this or that style for any weapon. You're still able to kill basically everything with your favorite style and your favorite weapon if you practice enough. One style being better in dishing out damage doesn't diminish the quality of others. And also, saying that Brave Longsword, Brave Heavy Bowgun or Striker Lance single-handedly break the game is a fallacy. Saying that those weapons are OP, broken and other inflationary buzzwords is easy when watching a speedrunner use it who took hours and days of his life to practice against a specific monster. It's not really a great way to gauge your weapon in general, since every good player can turn any weapon style combo into a great weapon. Does this make every weapon overpowered, broken or cheesy then? No, I don't think so. Using the counter for Brave Longsword for the guard point dash of Brave Duels for the first time or second time or even third time may result in some frustrating encounters with fireballs, a tail or a claw to one's face while trying to counter something and realize that the guard point window is indeed way more slim than previously thought. So, all in all, the new Brave style is a neat, new refreshing weapon style, DPS wise, and is really fun to use. The blue glow is also appealing as well, after all the red glowy stuff we saw up to this game. Enough talk about Brave Longsword, let's move to Brave Heavy Bowgun. Ranged weapons in Generations and Double Cross got a massive boost in their strength, meaning that light bowgun could wreck monsters with internal elemental shots alone, while heavy bowgun could do the same with pierce, normal and elemental barrages from the distance, not having to worry about dangerous melee and AoE attacks that the monster may and will throw at you. While elemental pierce shots got nerfed in Double Cross, heavy bowgun still wears its DPS crown on its head, shooting monsters to Swiss cheese, increasing the fire rate, while retaining its damage just further cemented its indifference whenever a monster tries to show off its fancy new G-rank moves and AoEs, while being able to evade possible incoming attacks with its innate evasion +2. So, what's the stance of the community on Brave Heavy Bowgun? Well, surprisingly, there isn't much to say. Apparently, barely no one really cares. I haven't been able to find many comments regarding Brave Heavy Bowgun, and I can't use comments under my own videos as a reference since I'm not using Brave Heavy Bowgun myself. It's a bit weird, since Brave Heavy Bowgun gets better kill times on average than Brave LS and Striker Lance. The explanation for this phenomenon is quite simple. Brave Heavy Bowgun isn't really used as much in speedruns as Brave Longsword for example, meaning less people comment on its amazing damage output. Well, at least that's what I think. Is it justified calling it OP or broken? The weapon doesn't play itself, and you still get majorly screwed if you're too greedy with siege mode. You have to be very aggressive to be able to score top clear times, which forces you to be greedy and take some risks. While it is very strong, it certainly doesn't break the meta. It shines the most in lockdowns and multiplayer hunts, but ranged weapons always did in that regard, so that's nothing new, really. A single gunner won't be able to eradicate the whole fauna by himself when first laying a hand on this cold machinery of death. Last but not least, Striker Lance. Shunned by some, loved by others. Sometimes called the brain-dead style on rare occasions, since you basically only use a single attack. The weapon style combo itself is simple and strong, but is it OP or game-breaking? Absolutely not. While I think that the emotion value of the charge finisher and being spammable on top of that is a little bit too strong, you won't be going around wrecking ancient beasts, elder god and demons with a snap of your fingers. You still have to be sure that the monster flinches, won't retaliate or simply move away when you use your charge attack. So Striker Lance is a simple weapon in theory, but in execution it's more than that. Way more. Kind of like Hammer, up to the introduction of styles. Easy but effective, once you've grown familiar with it. While it shed on most of the Blade Master times and generations, it wasn't nearly as loath as Brave style for supposedly being broken or OP. Sure, it got some side jabs here and there, but other than that, not so much. Weapon style combinations I consider cheesy are Adept Dual Swords. I don't think I really have to elaborate, so I'll keep it as short as possible. Adept Dual Swords gain the ability to evade anything and everything, and dealing damage at the same time, kind of like Brave Longsword without the awfully tight window, while having the option to do 2 dashes followed by the Adept Evasion, which deals damage as I said before, being invulnerable while doing those. This is a time span of almost 3 seconds, if not exactly, or more. The Adept Evasion time window is not small at all, even though it was supposedly nerfed a little in Double Cross. Being good at using Adept Duels is hardly a feat. Of course, you still have to know what you're doing to be able to take down monsters without taking forever, and or still not getting hit from time to time, but getting the hang of it is definitely one of the faster things you'll do in this game. Some of you may ask yourself now, well, that's good and all, but what's the point of the video? Do you just want to defend your favorite weapons from angry people over the internet? While it is true that I absolutely love playing Brave Longsword, the other 2 contenders on the other hand I barely touch, if at all. The thought behind this video is the following. Capcom does some really questionable decisions regarding weapon balancing. While Generations did a very good job regarding balancing, maybe except Striker Lance and the other ranged weapons to some degree, Double Cross totally screwed it over. We, the players, the consumers of the game, of the Monster Hunter franchises, can either accept it, use whatever we want to use and move on, or complain about the things that could need some reworking. We do to some degree, but in my opinion, in the wrong places. There is nothing wrong with the weapon being strong. Heck, feeling strong and using a weapon that helps us overcoming hardships is fantastic, but it is kind of sad that other weapons get left behind so much. Not because other weapons eclipse them, no, rather because they barely, if at all, get reworked to be on par with other weapons, or at least to be better than before. Other weapons feel way worse, now that another weapon has stolen the spotlight, which is even more frustrating if your favorite weapon gets left behind in the dust or even gets nerfed with barely any reason at all. It would work out better if weaker weapons would get stronger rather than stronger weapons getting weaker. In the next game everything would repeat itself, just with switch roles. Maybe in the next game Sword and Shield will take the first place on the DPS pedestal and Heavy Bowgun will be the worst. Who knows? Rather retain their already present qualities and wish for other weapons to gain some themselves. I think this way everyone can be happy. Hunting horn and gun lance are prime examples for this. While technically being solid weapons, they are pathetic when it comes to maximum potential, which is sad, since they are both pretty cool weapons and were even good DPS wise in Monster Hunter Portable 3rd and Troy Ultimate. For the gun lance, it is easily explained. Gun lance shells deal fixed damage and do not scale with raw, meaning that your shots do the same damage with the same shot level and ammo type, even if one gun lance has 360 and the other 70 true raw. Shelling is necessary to build up your heat gauge, which only makes the gun lance attacks stronger than they were in 4 Ultimate when you stay in the red portion of the heat gauge. Meaning, if you screw up and lock yourself in yellow by shelling too much, which is a trademark of gun lance by the way, you lose out on a lot of damage. It's poor mobility and in most games inferiority to lance, damage and moveset wise result in not many people using this, in concept, totally badass weapon. With the unique ability to enhance the other party members and its own hunter stats to grant unlimited stamina or even heal wounds. The low motion value, the slow attacking speed and the fact that hunting horns that don't play attack buffing songs are not as useful as hunting horns that do, make the weapon feel a little lackluster. Since the playing of songs pretty much covers the whole area, this makes way for the possibility to just stand in the corner eluding the whole fight, while playing bind resistance in a fatalis fight and not contributing much otherwise. This shines a bad light upon the weapon, especially since some people justify that action by saying that hunting horn is supposed to be a supporter weapon and they don't have to engage in combat. Although hunting horn possessing attacking capabilities, albeit being mediocre ones. To wrap it up in a few words, to be quite frankly, you can and should use whatever you want in this game, despite the disdain of others regarding your choice. If Capcom hands us strong, fun weapons with questionable motives regarding the balancing, why not use them if we find ourselves enjoying it? Question the development team if you have issues regarding the game, not the players. We have but an indirect influence over the development, nothing more. Not using a weapon out of protest won't do anyone any good. So, pretty much most of what you've heard was my own opinion, stance and analysis towards this game. If you disagree with some things I've said, you're pretty much free to do so. Have a nice day and see ya.